President Donald Trump may have had his dumbest interview yet. Take a look.
Take a look at some of these charts.
I'd love to.
We're going to look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death,
Yeah. It's started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than
We're
the
lower
world?
than
What does that mean?
Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that.
Dude, you can't do that. What? Like give you actual facts? I mean, look at that. He even like thought he was prepared. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, all right. I got my papers. I got my graphs. I'm gonna show fake news. I'm gonna show this Jonathan Swan. So unfair. I've got the numbers. Well, those numbers are wrong. So I love this because I'm gonna nerd out for a second. This is like Obi-Wan Kenobi telling Luke Skywalker back in Star Wars that he wasn't BSing him when he said, well, Darth Vader technically, he betrayed and murdered your father. Well, Darth Vader was Luke's father. We all know that. A plot twist. Just in case I spoiled a movie that's over 30 years old. And it's like, well, his excuse for that was, oh, well, it's true, from a certain point of view. Well, Donald Trump is basically taking these numbers and saying, what are you talking about? When you do it this way, we actually are doing fantastic on coronavirus. Yeah, but that's not the way that everybody else uses it. So, I mean, yes, when you're going with a proportion of cases, sure, the numbers are still pretty bad, but not doing quite as bad as the rest of the world. But when you look at population per capita, we're doing abysmally, as of course Swan points out in this next video.
Why can't I do that?
You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases.
Why
are
not
dead.
as a proportion of
When we have
population?
somebody, what it says is when you have somebody that has where there's a case.
Oh, okay.
The people that live from those cases.
It's surely a relevant statistic to say if the US has X population and X percentage of death of that population versus
because you
South
have to
Korea.
go by the cases.
Well, look at South Korea, for example. 51 million population, 300 deaths. It's crazy
You don't
compared to
know
other-
that.
I do. It's
You
on
don't know that.
You think they're faking their statistics? South Korea?
I
An
won't get
advanced
into
country?
that because I have a very good relationship
Yeah.
with the country, but you don't know that.
So wait, are you suggesting that these other countries are cooking their numbers? I mean, look, I guess that's not 100% unprecedented. I mean, when you look at, of course, China's initial responses, they did kind of, hide their numbers a little bit. And so no, everything's fine here, which is exactly what the Trump administration is now trying to do. They're also trying to hide their numbers. That's why they no longer allow the CDC to get death data from the hospitals. And so they can come up and they can say, no, handling coronavirus, just fine. So now look, here's the funny thing about that, right? So this is the United States is failing 100%. It's an unmitigated disaster. And yet we just basically learned that President Donald Trump, his aides, I think, are deliberately trying to spin the information to seem like he's doing a fantastic job. Now, the reason could be maybe they don't want to piss off Donald Trump, right? They don't want to deal with his Trumper tantrums, right? Or temper tantrums, whatever you want to do, right? So maybe he doesn't want to deal with that. Him or her, whoever his aides are, right? That gave him this information. Or Donald Trump said, I don't care what that information is. I want stuff that makes me look good so that I can go on this interview and school the fake news media. I don't know. But let me tell you what. The way that the rest of the world counts coronavirus cases is using it for population, right? And so Jonathan Swan, he calls it out like he's supposed to, and it was deeply, deeply embarrassing. Let's just say that. So now we learned something else from this too. This may explain why Donald Trump is opposed to doing any more testing, right? So now if you're counting the death numbers as a proportion of cases, as we hear from Donald Trump all the time, we don't want to do more testing because then you do more testing and you find more cases, right? He doesn't want to find more cases, so he doesn't want to do more testing. And so, look, more cases for him makes it look bad, right? Even though in reality, of course, if you do more testing and, you find as a proportion of the population, again, you find less people that are infected, or I should say the new infection rate is actually evening out or going down, that actually does look better. But then again, maybe he knows, well, since we aren't doing anything about this, that positive testing number is going to continue to go up. But so ultimately, maybe he still knows that it's going to go badly for him, that it's going to look badly for him and his administration. And so, yeah. Now, again, when it comes to Donald Trump and his solution to this is let's just do less testing. Well, that kind of thing is going to work on his brain dead, diehard followers. It's not going to work on most people. Most people are like, no, we need more testing. We need contact tracing so that people who are infected by this can go into isolation and, not infect more people and not have the spread, to limit the spread, to lower the amount of new cases so that we can eventually open back up. The Trump administration says, oh, no, we don't care about any of that. Let's just open them now. Let's go back to work. Let's go send the kids back to school. And they're just going to die for the market. And that's it. That's what we're going to do. So either way, look, you can't really make an argument that Donald Trump looked smart here. No, he looked incredibly stupid. He got deeply, deeply embarrassed. But not only that, but even if he's not that stupid, he maybe relies on you being that stupid and being dumb enough to believe, that South Korea and all these other countries, the world is doing this conspiracy to make Donald Trump look bad by, hiding their numbers or using a metric that's not favorable to them. It doesn't matter, right, what the conspiracy is. And we know Donald Trump believes in all sorts of insane, bullshit conspiracy theories. And so maybe he's relying on you also believing in those conspiracy theories. But again, I think going back to the aide who gave him those charts that he thought were so fantastic, right? Well, that aide might be in a little bit of trouble because, again, he looked really, really bad here and incredibly weak. It was an absolute flop, an embarrassment of epic proportions, and I think somebody's going to get fired. That's just me.